Hi guys. Okay. Guys, so we are going live with Dr. Swaiman Singh today. So I've just sent him a request and he has accepted. Hi,
Okay, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good.
So good to finally meet you virtually.
Yes.
On a side note, you're from California, right?
No, this is Sakbir Balal's California. I'm from New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you know. I don't know if you know what I just said. Do you know what I just like? What's the meaning behind that?
No, I don't, but please explain. So I really want to talk to you about this because I saw your video on elections. So I think this goes right into it. So please.
Yeah. So, back in the day, Pratap Singh Kanu had actually said that he wanted to turn Punjab into California.
Hmm.
And then Sukhbir Badal had said the similar thing where he said he wants to turn Punjab into California. And that became a big issue with a lot of people because a lot of people think Punjab is better than California. But then what is the meaning of California? And instead of going towards what we think California is like, where there's good healthcare, there's good education, there's good sports system. So we felt like instead of going that way, we kind of went the other way. So we formed this village where
Hmm.
we are today in hopes that we can set like an example of what California really should have been, where you have education, where you have healthcare, where you have sports, where you have, a care for environment, where everybody's treated equal, regardless of religion, regardless of caste, regardless of all the other issues. So basically, kind of going along the lines of Baba Nanak. So that's what we wanted to create here. And I think we have been kind of successful a bit on that.
Yeah, that's really cool, actually. Okay, so you're from New Jersey. How did you end up in Punjab, and how did you end up at Tikri border?
Yeah, that's pretty odd, right? So, I am from New Jersey, and like everybody else, kind of was plugged into the computer. My work day was very long, like usually 5 a.m., 6 a.m. to 11 type of thing.
Hmm.
And then, whenever I would come home, I would turn on YouTube, and I had a couple of people that I would always listen to, like Just Bajwa was one of them. And I would
Hmm.
give like about 10, 15 minutes to listening to these people. And it just created this like awareness, like that we have to do something. Um, and really, I never thought I would end up here, but just because of my busy schedule, and I was just finishing up my cardiology fellowship, and I had my interventional fellowship lined up, and kind of like breaking that cycle meant, something I worked literally 30 years for to get to where I was, and I was just right at the mountain and basically jumping down. So I never thought I would do this, but just like talking to one friend, I was like, this is what's going on, and this is what's happening. I'm a doctor, and then basically next thing I came here, my thought was 5 days.
Hmm.
My thought was 5 days, that hey, I'll set up a clinic. I have money. I'll take out my monthly paycheck. I'll take out like a certain amount of it, and I'll hire a doctor, and then I'll set up stuff, and then I can just manage that from America. But
Hmm.
when I came here, things quickly changed. I felt there was a great hope that I saw in the faces of the people. Like they, it was very odd, but you have to be here to witness that and like enjoy that. So I enjoyed that thing where people needed me, where I felt welcome in it. And having worked, being a doctor, where you actually get to do what you signed up to do. And that was like true seva, right? And like where you knew there was a need. And then, when 5 days happened, I was like, okay, you know what? This might come to an end. Let's do 10 days and like 14 days and 21 days. And still didn't end. But I think by day 14, I just realized that there's no way I can go back. Like, just so, when your elders are fighting and people are fighting and you are a doctor and you see the hope of the people, I just couldn't go back, and that's what happened basically.
I think that's commendable because so I was pre-med. I just didn't have the dedication to kind of follow through. And especially getting into cardiology and then all the stuff that you need to learn after cardiology. It's and like you said, it's 30, almost 30 years of your life that you spend on education.
Yeah.
Um, so okay, so you bring up a great point that um that there's something magical about our elders, right? And I've noticed this in my grandmother because I got involved in all of this after seeing my grandma and her reaction to it. She's gone through 47, she's seen 84, and she seemed scared, but there was a quiet resilience about her, a quiet strength. And this entire morcha has been single-handedly brought forth by our elders. And you deal with them a lot. So what do you see? What do you see a strength? Do you see a fear? Like what do you see?
So the thing what you see in the news sometimes is the 1%. The 1% really bad or the 1% really good. Meaning 1% bad who stand in lines and they have the shoes already and they'll stand for the other type of shoes, or the other 1%. People like Just Bajwa, like I mentioned, or the farm union leaders. But what you don't see in the news is the 98%, and that's literally the fighters, right? And what I've seen is, especially the ones that don't go home. So that, I don't know, I want to let everybody in America know that, there's a lot of news about that the crowds have diminished and this and that, and that's not true. Uh, these guys are ready for a very smart fight where they have basically gone village to village and they've set up 8-day, 7-day rotations. But then there's still people, like even in our group, there are people who like refuse to go home. So what I see is in those people a lot of resilience. Like today, for instance, today we went to give out at night oranges, these mosquito things like that, like runaway mosquitoes, and like water jugs. And there was instances where people were like, no, 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 we don't want it. Or, if we try to give them like ration, like food, they were like, oh, no, we have enough and we just want this. And what we saw that when we tried to do this last month, that everybody wanted stuff, right? But now as the morcha progresses, people are becoming smarter. They realize that if they skip a meal, that somebody else will be able to eat the same meal. So there's a lot of resilience, and you learn the resilience from the elders. And that's why I always put the elders, like whenever we have a trolley going or whatever we do, I always like take 2 elders with me, because people see it, like the way they work, and we all learn from them. And there's a great deal of just stuff that you learn. And because of that, and the big reason is because some of them know about these morchas and maybe have lived through some, the past. For somebody like me, I've never been through this stuff, so there's definitely a lot of resilience. There's definitely a lot of good people. And man, it's so exciting to be here. Like 99.9% of the time it's pure excitement, and then there's always this 0.1% of the time when you're like, what's going on here?
That's funny. Um, wow. Okay, so a little less serious, but like being a doctor, what do you see is like, do you see like the most type of injuries, or like, what happens? Like what kind of things are our
Yeah.
elders going through? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I said like what type of things do you treat the most? What type of
Can you
injuries
hear
do you
me?
see happening? Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you, yeah, I can hear
Okay. I was saying like what type of
you.
injuries or what type of ailments do you see the most? Hello?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you. Yeah, so your question was what type of stuff I see here, as in my patients, right?
Yeah.
I have a lot of people. I have like tons of people around me. That's why all their nets are going on, and that's why I was like trying to shut their nets off. But yeah, so the stuff that we see here, it has changed literally from day, like when I got here. A lot of the stuff I saw was like diarrhea, vomiting, food poisoning from sanitization issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
And literally, if
You
you
froze
come to
again.
Tikri, I can tell you. Oh, I froze. Yeah, net to नहीं कुछ
Okay,
होगा.
now you're okay.
Okay,
You're okay
where
now.
was that? So, am I okay?
Diarrhea and sanitation issues. Yeah.
Okay. So when I came here, that was the issue because people had just come in, right? And everybody's just throwing stuff on the ground. Nobody cares. People think, okay, everything will be over in 7 days. But then as, we started a cleaning drive and what happened, I don't want to say we, but literally everybody kind of like, it was like a together cleaning drive happened. And what we saw is like, if you come to Tikri now, Haryana is more cleaner now than probably when we came here. Like streets are so much cleaner. You come to California, you're like, okay, you know what? It looks nice. Um, so what I saw was diarrhea going away, the vomiting kind of going away, and then the cold weather really took in. And then what we saw was like patients dying from cardiac arrest, and there was a lot of stress as the time progressed. Stress happened, and there was you saw some like anxiety, depression type of patients. Uh, Stuff we kind of put some stuff into effect. Other people probably put some effect, like opening up a library, starting some sports stuff, trying to like keep the mood good. And then the January 26th happened, and then that was a lot of trauma. For literally we lost a lot of doctors after that day, but there was just a lot of injuries we dealt with. Wounds everywhere. Wounds like literally took over most of our time after the 26th. What are we seeing now again? A little bit, diarrhea cases have definitely died out. Oh yeah, what we saw a lot before was also fungal cases because people didn't have clean water. And the issue now that I fear in the coming days is, cold weather is good, it's gone. Now people are going to be able to take showers, but water issues and milk issues, and then, issues with mosquitoes. So dengue, malaria, and then just sanitization issues are going to come up again in the summertime not because of people not keeping clean, but milk going bad and people using bad milk and stuff of that sort. So as we progress through time, the type of stuff we see goes, changes. But some of the bread and butter stuff that we see is like diabetes, hypertension, because some people thought they came for 7 days and they didn't bring their medications because they didn't know they were going to be this much time here. So we're giving, we have to do, especially those that never went back, give them diabetic medications, hypertension meds. So that's
yeah.
oh, another thing I see a lot is people hitting their head on trolleys, especially the
Oh,
elderly people trying to get in and out of the trolleys. Oh man, we see so much of that. But yeah, next question, please.
yeah. Okay. So, I was gonna ask this a little bit later, but because you brought it up, let's talk about the 26th because we've all seen your videos. Um, I think I got a lot more active on social media after the 26th. On the 26th, like I went to sleep thinking everything was great. That morning, I had a meeting with a congressman, and I woke up like scared because I didn't know what to say. I want to know your perspective. And I know you've spoken at length on this, but I want you to speak to my followers. What happened? And we saw someone from your team getting just brutally, brutally beaten. It was like, I mean, I have like you see, you don't you I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I mean, you saw it firsthand. What went through your mind and what kind of trauma do you think you're going through? Your employees and then the rest of the people that are at the morcha.
Yeah, that was 25th. Like once we saw what was happening, so everything was good, right? I was like, nothing can go wrong. Like people would tell me, I have a lawyer friend, Veerinder. He would call me every day. Dr. Saab, are you ready for the 26th? I'm like, what is ready, man? Like, we are in a democracy. Nothing can go wrong. The world is watching. And then like
Mm.
22 happened, 23rd. And then these four dudes are like caught in single border trying to kill some farm union leaders. And then, by 24th, I'm like, man, something can go wrong because there's still nobody knows what the routes of the parade are. And then 25th, we did a first aid class. We taught a bunch of people, like over 1,000 people, how to do first aid, gave out kits. But 26th, every day our feelings change. Okay, something's going to happen. Okay, nothing can happen. We're in a democracy. And like, whenever I would think the worst, literally I would go in depression. Whenever I'd be like, oh no, nothing can happen, this and that, and then I would go up. And then, and it would change upon the some of the stuff you would hear, like when Laka Sudana or Deep Sidhu would say something, and you're like, oh man, I hope that doesn't happen. And then when, again, the farm union leaders would say something, and you're like, okay, you know what, it's going to be okay. So it was like one of those things that, it was like, crazy. But then on the 26th, everything is fine. But, we talked to a couple of the smart people here, and we're like, listen, if something can go wrong that day, it's going to happen at that particular metro station where there's a turn, where either you turn this way and go to this route, or you go towards the Red Fort. Because even on the 26th, nobody knew the route. Like we were calling like Agrava people, we were calling the different Jatebandi, and we're like, there were so many routes that were just like fake messages, like go this way, go that way, go this way. So anyway, we're like, we go to that particular, not what's the barricade. We're at that police barricade, and that's where we stopped. And like a couple of people came, fake news, basically, hey, this is what's happening over there, this is what's happening over there, go over there. And I'm like, after like 2-3 minutes, after 2-3 people talk to us, we're like, listen, we gotta go. So we had already sent 2 doctors, but we're like, now we have to go. When we went across the barricade, we found out there was nothing going on. I'm kind of like breaking it down into a faster whatever, but basically what we saw that day was there were people who were trying to agitate the farmers to trying to break the barricade. And it was so obvious, like it was so ridiculously obvious. I'm so glad there were some videos that came out afterwards that proved my point, like even from Red Fort and stuff like that. And we, I never, like, we go through 84 and stuff, and now I literally am 100% sure how our people like fell into that traps of 84 and everything that, and how basically religion kind of sometimes is used the wrong way, trying to manipulate people. Because that day, it manipulated so many people to literally break barricades because the stuff they were being told. Anyway, we are on the other side, and stuff is happening at the barricade. The youth is talking to the police. Everything, we had people we had like literally 220 volunteers that day, right? So we had planned to set up people here and there and kind of like just watch and walkie-talkie us or call us when something goes wrong. And these people later told me what happened at that time was police and the farmer young guys were just talking, and all of a sudden this guy gets a phone call, gets off the phone and starts hitting these kids. Next thing you know, there's a lathi charge. Obviously people are gonna retaliate, right? And then all of a sudden there's basically this tear gas. I will never forget this. This is the worst thing that could happen. Hit the guy right in the face from a tractor. Lost control, drove right off the barricade. We had an ambulance chasing that guy. We're like, this guy is going to fall off after a half kilometer, 1 kilometer. Chased him for literally 3 kilometers. The guy like just literally drove off alone on a tractor, half face blown off. And we set up basically a field hospital there right across the barricade, treating police officers, CRPF, Kasans, like Kasans literally over 100 in that 2 to 3 hour period. Police officers, definitely close to 10 to 15 CRP police officers, sending some, to the hospital, our ambulances. What was great was, that we thought we were going to be second in line. There was no government doctors who were there. There were government ambulances across the barricade, never showed up to the other side. Like literally, I'm still wondering, did people want these people to die, like CRPF, even police officer? Because there were no casualties from their side, and I wonder if we weren't there, there definitely would have been some casualties. How the mood of the nation would have changed if even one police officer would have lost his life that day. And that, I'm telling you, that could have happened. Anyway, we're there, we're doing our stuff, and then all of a sudden these 2 guys with like masks on enter our hospital, and very odd situation. Like these guys couldn't have come from the the farmer side. I just have a feeling they came from the opposite side. And right when they enter a hospital, there's a lathi charge. These guys maybe got hit once. Our guys, the hospital guys, got hit like brutally. And the guy you're talking about, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I was at that time treating my patient, and my guy started yelling at me like, "Bro, you're treating like them here, and they're like beating your guys over there. Like, what are you doing?" I felt so stupid at that time. Literally felt like my team was gonna turn its back on me because, it was clear that what we had decided that morning was, listen, we're going to treat patients, not going to look whatever they are. But trust, that moment was so scary because I just felt that my team, like some of my teammates, were gonna. I know them, right? I know who these people are, and I know how strong these people are. Like literally, some of these people have, people don't have guts to even like put their fingers, on them. Let alone that this is going on. Anyway, so he turned me like, hey, this is what's going on. I literally saw that lot, like two hands, boom, never will forget it. Stopped whatever, and calmed the police guys down, like, hey, what are you guys doing? And then after about like a minute talking, this and that, those guys probably like walked off. And what we saw was these police officers, CRPF people, crying, folded hands, saying sorry to us and telling us that we are sorry for what happened. We don't know who did this, but it wasn't us. And we huddled up. We're like, because I had to huddle up. I'm like, what? We have to make a decision. Keep treating these people here, where we're treating CRPF, police officer, and Kassans, or we just simply go to the other side of the barricade, where all we're going to be treating is farmers. And the only reason we turned, we came to this side of the barricade is because somebody basically gave us wrong information in the morning. And honestly, the whole team, even the guys who got beat up, raised their hands. Were like, listen, we're going to be here and we're with you. Whatever we said. At that time, we had said the name of Paikaniaji. I said, listen, we have to remember a guy. And this time in, history will not be kind to us, basically, if we leave these guys here, because, one guy literally had an open head. And we're like, if we leave this here, how are we going to live as people? And thank to God, nobody from my team raised their hand. Nobody from my team talked bad, cursed. No one from my team literally hit back. And moreover, they decided to stay there and fight. And, this was just 2-3 o'clock or whatever. And so we kept going till like 10:30 at night. And, 5 minutes into whatever that happened at that barricade, the barricade broke. And I can honestly tell you, the barricade broke because the police officers lost their soul. They were so heartbroken on what they saw that the barricade broke. And going back in time, this barricade is a small little barricade, not so many, like maybe 100 police officers, 150 at that stop, and then more were back. But nothing, puny little barricade. At like 10 o'clock a.m., the barricade, the single people had already reached Red Fort. And we're like, how the heck? One of the things we had decided even before, like people were telling me, there's no way people can reach the Red Fort. It's the strongest thing in the world. Like people, like the Indian government has these boulders. And then I got to know from our media team that the reason they reached the Red Fort, because all the barricades were placed on the wrong side. So literally it was an open road right to the Red Fort. Now, you guys are in New York, like there are people probably watching me in America, right? You tell me, I'm from New Jersey. I go to New York, I have to turn my navigator on. I mean, literally sad to say, I have to turn my navigator on even to go to work every day. It's so sad that, so if me having to turn my navigator on New Jersey, New York, imagine a Kassan, a farmer coming from Punjab to New Delhi, they don't know, and that day. So imagine them trying to drive their tractors in Delhi. Who knows which way is the right way, the wrong way? And the funny thing happened was, the internet was cut. I don't know if this is funny. I don't know why I even say this is a funny thing, but the internet was cut, causing more chaos, more confusion. Next few days, when these young guys would come to me for like help, like wounds and stuff, and I asked them like, what the hell were you thinking, right? Why did you do what you did? Why did you break the barricade? Why did you, go this way? And the same answers came across like, hey, we didn't know which was the right way, which was the wrong way. When we went the right way, we still got hit with tear gas. So we went the way where we went with the tractors. There were stories about a kid who told me, this is, I think, on my Insta, I posted it. A guy was like, we went to the police officer. We're like, why the heck are you throwing tear gas at us? And they're like, we are told to throw one tear gas every like 10 seconds or something. And we're like, and the police was like, I'll wait till 1 minute. That's the best I can do. And he's like, but why are you doing this? He's like, listen, that's the tear gas right there. Throw it in the gutter. I won't say anything. But as long as that tear gas is in my hand, I'm gonna keep. And the police officer allowed that kid to take that tear gas cans and throw it in the gutter. So all that day, what I learned was, if you believe in Jai Jawan Jai Kisan, then keep saying Jai Jawan Jai Kisan, because that day neither were the Kisans wrong, neither were the police officers wrong. There were people who were within these police officers dressed as whatever they were, trying to kind of, get them excited, and so they will attack the police officer. I mean the Kisan. And literally the stories we hear from 1984 are the same stories that they tried to do here. I'm telling you, history repeated itself, and it repeated itself right in front of our eyes. And all I can say is, like, yeah, we have now Instagram. Like, nobody told our story, right? Instagram brought our story out. Facebook brought, like, NDTV knew our story. They didn't want to. They didn't play it. Ramesh Kumar knew this story, right? He didn't play it. There's a reason they didn't play. All of Indian media didn't play. UK did, Canada did, United States did. Imagine going into 1984 now, where there was no media, nothing like this. And when somebody did have a story to tell like this, nobody cared. Nobody. I mean, all I can say is, like, this, I'm a very pro-India guy. I believe in our flag. I grew
Me
up
too.
in, right? But when this really tells you that maybe some of the guys who, really cements that people who lost their life in 1984, maybe they were just played. And just like that, it was a small little thing where we got played on that day, January 26th. There was, like, literally a plan. Basically, we fell into that plan. Single border, take them to Red Fort, throw them in the river.
Yeah.
And we basically, yeah, we were thrown in the river.
That's exactly what happened, because okay, so I lived in India from 2014 till I got engaged in uh 2018, and then, moved back permanently in 2019. And on Republic Day, Delhi is on high alert. There's a lot of army, there's a lot of security personnel. And if anybody knows about the Red Fort, it's heavily guarded. Heavily guarded.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not like it's not something you can just walk into. We have no imagery of the barricades. We have no story of, like, oh, they broke barricading at the Red Fort. Was a Red Fort just left open? Like, and I say this over and over because it's really something to think about. The Red Fort is not any old building, right? It's an emblem of, kind of a symbol of India. And it's important to understand that when the national capital is on high alert, and the Red Fort is actually inside the center of Delhi, why wouldn't there be army personnel or security there, right? And it's really something for everyone to think about. Wow. I actually shake up and get really disturbed thinking about it, because, like, people think that it was all just young. We have elderly women. We have elderly men. We are, like, our grandparents are there, and this is how they did. They infiltrated it, and it goes to show, like, literally what the government is doing. And I really like the fact, Dr. Swaiman, that you said you're pro-India, because I am also very pro-India, right? And I've gained a lot from India, and it's very important to decipher the difference between a government and the country. Hello? Uh-oh, I think you froze. Hello. Mr. Dr. Swaiman Singh is frozen. You're frozen. Okay, guys, I think, okay, you froze there for a bit.
You said something about you're pro-India, and then something, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so I said I'm glad that you said that you're pro-India, because I am as well. And it's important to decipher the difference between a ruling government and the country. Speaking against a ruling government and what they're doing against a ruling party is not against the country. I can be pro-America and hate Trump's guts. I can be pro-America and hate Biden's guts. That does not make me anti-American. And I say this over and over. Thomas Jefferson said, dissent is the greatest form of patriotism. And the right to peaceful assembly is a hallmark of democracy. Dissent is a hallmark of democracy. And any democracy that takes that away, that takes away freedom of speech, dissent, the right to assembly, is treading towards dictatorship. And Dr. Swayman Singh, I want to ask you about the elections that just happened in Punjab. You briefly spoke about it in a video, but I gathered that you have very strong opinions of what went down. So I want you to talk about it, and I want you to just let us know. So I'm not very up to date on the political landscaping of Punjab. So from that perspective.
Yeah. So I think first, let me get back to the point you said about pro India. Sadly, we do have to say that we're pro India, right? That we have to state that. Like, it's sad, right? Like, being an Indian, like, you have to state that's wrong, right? Like, anyway, you get my point. But another thing is, a lot of people, I try to explain this, like, listen, our elders lived in this country. Our elders basically, when we go back, their feet touch that ground, the fields where we go back, right? And a lot of memories are there. Guru Nanak's Bani tells us to basically expand our horizons, go and teach and give your knowledge everywhere. So when we if something is dirty, just like you said, if one person is wrong, Biden, Trump, doesn't mean you divide the country, right? You clean it up, you clean the system, so you keep fighting. You're never going to have a place that's just perfect. That's why the word Inqilab Zindabad. Even if water stops at a certain place, it gets dirty. So as long as it's flowing, it stays clean. So just like that, life has to keep going. The revolution always goes on for a better life. So anyway, my thing is, if something goes wrong, doesn't mean you divide the country. You ask for separate land. No, that's not the way it works. You clean up the land, the house that you live in. You don't go to the neighbor's house when your house becomes dirty. Anyway, so you said the election. Election is great. I follow it closely for almost I've been here in America for 24 years, and sadly, I don't know why I still love Indian politics and try to follow it, and kind of, because I think I want to change. I really want to see Punjab actually turn into a nice place where we can go back and enjoy and whatever. But one thing that makes me really sad is when nice people try to run for elections and they just get rolled over. And this happens over and over again. It's almost like one of that that slave theory, or if some ghulam or slave, because the slaves basically become so that they know they can never escape slavery, and you keep hitting them and they accept that hit because they know they can never get out. And that's the mindset of a lot of people in Punjab. They're like, you know what, that guy, the good guy, is not going to win, so why are we going to waste our vote? Let's take that 500 rupees and take that liquor bottle and vote for this guy. And sadly, because of that, a lot of people have lost their faith in running for elections. So a lot of educated people really don't care to run because they feel, one, that they're not going to win, and secondly, even if when they enter the system is so dirty that they won't be able to make a change. And that has happened. Like Fulkaji, right? He's an advocate. People made him I believe he was an MP, right, if I'm not wrong, or and then he resigned. Like, when educated people get space in office and they're not really able to bring a change, that breaks a lot of hearts. And that's been going on for literally in Punjab for the past 50 years, if not longer. And that's because of the system. And I think the system is there because the system has played the people that they've taken away their education. So educated people know how to vote. Right now, the system has taken away educated people. So anybody who has education likes to come to America. They take their exams and they go to London, Canada. So all the educated people have kind of gone away. All the uneducated people have stayed. When you're uneducated, you don't know your true rights. A lot of sarpanches, MLAs don't even know the power of being a sarpanch, what they can do and what they cannot do. Same thing with MLAs. So what I really thought, that this is a time of a revolution, right? Right now, what we're going through is once in a century type of thing. And as it progresses, that's something a lot of people don't realize, but as this progresses, it's better. Like, a lot of people want this to end, but on the other hand, the longer this goes, the mindset of the people will change. They'll realize how they ended up here. The reason they ended up here because they sold their votes. And the people who they sold their votes to sold themselves to, corporate houses. So basically, what we thought that in this election, we had a chance to really turn the table and not take money and not take liquor and basically, try to maybe bring a positive change. But hey, listen, it was a small election. And the stuff that came out of Punjab and I heard was that people took money, people took liquor, and people gave away liquor. And that was kind of like, hey, I had to make a statement, right? So if we make a statement, maybe by the next election, people will say, we'll change. And this is something I was told by a guy. When we grew up, when you grew up, when we were in our, our cities or villages, we never talked to the bad people. Our parents say, stay away from that guy. If somebody's a smuggler or somebody who basically does black, you don't associate with them. But
No.
now in Punjab, if you have a little bit of money, it doesn't matter if you're a smuggler, thief, whatever you are. If you have money, people are going to associate with you. They're going to want to take pictures with you. And that's the change, the mindset that we want to make here in California, here where we are. And that's the struggle. That true struggle is to change the mindset of the slave, to turn him into a warrior. That hey, you can bring a positive change. Hey, you can stand up for elections. You can win. You just have to fight a little harder.
I actually, wow, you explained that so well, that the mindset of our people in Punjab is like, "Itthe tak kuch badalna hi nahi." Like, why are we doing this? Nothing's gonna change, blah, blah, blah. But, and I really, really hope that once these bills are repealed, like people wake up, right? They wake up and realize, hey, the power of people is insane. We do have the ability to change things. And that's one good thing that's going to come up, because the youth are really going to wake up and smell the coffee. Um, I had another thing I wanted to talk about. Okay, so Punjab elections. So were you born in Punjab?
Yeah, I came here when I was 10. So I'm 34. I came here when I was 10. For the past 24 years, basically, I've been in America.
Okay. So I was born in the US, but I grew up in India. And so mine is like, and then I went back, then I came back, did all my schooling, my college and everything, then went back for acting, and then got engaged and came back here. Um, so here's the thing. I want to talk about how, so in America, most people are politically knowledgeable, right? Like in high school, we're taught about the Constitution, we're taught about our rights, you know, um, we're taught that freedom of assembly and freedom of speech is a hallmark of democracy. Like we're taught that in school. I always felt like when I lived in India that knowledge of politics is very limited. That in India, government seems like a far off topic and unreachable. Have you Do you feel the same way, that there isn't a very big awareness on um what an individual can do, or the rights an individual has? Like you spoke about sarpanches and MLAs, but an individual person, that they have the right to say things.
Yeah, so I think we respect life in America. If one life is lost, there's consequences, right? People will have to pay for that when if a life is lost. In India, it seems like if a life is lost, a life is lost. It's okay. Listen, that guy died. Yeah, he had great things to say, but hey, he spoke up against the wrong people. And there might be some uproar for 15 days, 20 days, but you know what? Listen, we have money. We'll take care of the DC and police officers. We're gonna be okay. And that's again the slave mindset, and that's the system that's corrupt. Basically, has taken away people's education. Wants that, right? They are able to control the people. That fear, arresting arresting journalists. You know, I hate to say this, beating up doctors. Really can now imagine if you're a doctor and you wanted to come, and next time there's any kind of like thing like this, and you want to be part of it, you'll think twice. Your mom will make you think twice, like, hey, or your wife will make you think twice, hey, you sure you want to do that? Because last time this happened, this could happen next time. Because I thought there was an international law where doctors can't get hit. So just
Yeah.
like, just that, there's laws, right? There's laws, but then there's laws of the people. And I think right now, in Punjab, you don't have respect for life, and everybody fears losing their life. And that's the mindset of the people that, yeah, one thing is the Constitution, but one thing is this mindset after 1984 that we have that, hey, a police officer can take your life, or, a Jira head, the head of the village, or whatever it is, they have extreme power. And when they don't, and that's the one of the reasons is because a lot of the people who are like revolutionary thinking, who who are, you know, social workers are just not respected, and they are kind of shunned. Like, hey, this guy's stupid, you know, whatever he's saying, who cares, you know. And a lot of other things that has happened is that we have turned into a very selfish society. You know, my grandfather's time, father's time, they would work together in the fields. Like one day, they, you know, we'll do this. Second day, we'll do, and we were, and that was because of the, you know, the tools we had, right? We don't have tractors, we didn't have that stuff, so everybody needed themselves. But now in this society, I think we're kind of on our own. You know, I have a car, I have a washing machine, I have everything I need. All I need is to go to that 9 to 5 job, make that money, and I, you know, I'll go to Bahamas for my vacation. But that's, you know, that's not how it was. You know, that's not how it used to be. And I think that selfish society has something to do with that. And I think anybody who's here, and that's something I'm learning here at this morcha, is that, you know, it's okay if I didn't have that 9 to 5 job and didn't make that money. You know, there's a different type of happiness where, you know, seeing, you know, say, you know, helping your elders, or, you know, being with your people, the excitement that you that brings to you is worth more than, you know, that 9 to 5 job would have ever brought. So you know, there are problems in Punjab, and I think education is the thing, and that's why I urge all the NRIs from here on out. If there's something you want to donate to, if there's something you want to do, is go back to your villages and try to build a library, try to build a school, try to, you know, pay for one tutor who tutors people after school type of thing, and try to put the pressure on the government to build more public schools. And because equal education is kind of like a birthright. It doesn't matter if you're poor or rich, everybody deserves equal chance, right? Equal education. So
All right, let's take some questions. We're hitting the 1 hour mark. Okay. Please tell Dr. Swayman I am a huge fan of his. I would like to know what advice would he give to the diaspora regarding helping the farmers. Simstation XO 29 minutes ago said that she's a huge fan of yours, and she would want to know what advice you would give to the diaspora to help farmers.
so you
Hello?
have to be very smart, right?
Yeah.
This, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be very
Yeah.
smart. You have to be very smart. This could be a very long fight, or it could end tomorrow. But whatever it is, you know, from day one, we thought that this is going to be a long fight. So everything we do is kind of long term. Like building a water filtration system was, we don't want to pay for bottles, right? Save, you know, yeah, we spent 1.5 lakh on the filtration system and maybe a few thousand on the bottles giving away to people. But we save that day to day cost of buying bottles. So, you know, things like that, where, you know, instead of, you know, you know, sending stuff that just you eat and throw away, you do something that stays there. And next project that I'm putting out for NRIs is like, hey, reach out to your villages, right? Let's say I live in a village X. Reach out to your village and say, hey, we are going to build a shelter for you at Tikri or Singhu or whatever, and that shelter stays there. You know, you can park your trolley there, whatever you want to do, that's on you. But, and that shelter costs about 15,000, 20,000 rupees, which is like $300. So for $300, you can literally build a nice shelter where 15, 20 people can stay. They can take the train, they can take the bus, and the trolley can stay there, and they just go back and forth. And the shelter stays there. And you become involved with that village. So for $20,000, you can probably build a very cool summer shelter for your people. And that way they are not spending money and look, you know, coming to us for tarpals and stuff. So that's a great way. Another great way is, you know, getting them milk. You know, but that's a bigger, like, you know, one thing is I always tell people, do something that you can actually, you know, not today, but you can actually do it for a long time. So building a shelter, once you build that shelter, all you have to do is some maintenance, maybe, you know. So the total cost of the whole project, maybe for the next 6 months, 1 year, could be like $500 or six. Anybody can do that, and you know what a great help that could be for the people. Amazing. Imagine that you just have a shelter. They want to shift the people. They just take a train, go back to Punjab or Haryana, and the other team comes and lives in that shelter. Okay.
That's a
Right.
hello?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so um Ashmeet is asking, what are you foreseeing in the coming hotter months? What else can we be doing sharing on Twitter? And how can we help spread the word on what supplies you need? So basically, are there any particular medical supplies you need?
No, medically we're pretty set. Like I've been set. You know, I have a huge list of people who want to help on medical supplies, and I
Hmm.
literally have not used anybody more than once. So we're good. Yeah, thank God. But one thing we might do in Tikri is that we might become like a wholesaler type of thing where there's other camps. And the only way I would do that is I had a meeting with a couple of camps today. I said, listen, what you have to do is I want to make sure that every camp that we give medications to has to be a doctor-run camp. So first you have to prove to us that you will have a doctor there every time, because there's a lot of abuse of medications in India. You know, these people who are not even like literally nurses, they're not even nurses, and they're giving away medication, and that's leading to medication abuse. And we don't want to be anywhere, anything part of that. So what we said is we'll have a meeting with all the camps that might be going on in Tikri. We'll figure out which are actually doctor-run camps, and because a lot of these people are struggling, so we have been giving them medication. But I say, listen, from in the future, if you really want help from us, you have to work in a system where we set up a camp every 5 kilometers. Yes, we will help you get, replenish medications, but you have to be able to prove that there's a doctor overseeing the camp at all times. So something along that lines might happen in the future if this prolongs, because it's needed. Because as this fight goes on, the volunteers become less, like especially doctors make a good amount of money. So that's something we look to do. But for now, medication-wise, good. Our Modi Khana is going on. That's where we might need some help. But again, that's very rotational. You just have to message me on WhatsApp or Insta or something. We'll put you in the rotation. And the goal is, again, have a rotation of people so you're not putting a burden on one thing. And another thing I always say is don't come alone. Go to your Gurdwara, go to your group of friends and say, hey, listen, I want to help this organization or that organization, and do it as a group. So imagine you putting, and then ask for something. Like let's say you come to my organization and you say, I have $500. So I want you to do this. And have that organization actually make sure that they show you where you spent that money. So you're not just throwing money in the air. Because a lot of times you make a donation or you do something and you're like, what happened? Like, what did I do? So, make people accountable for the stuff that you put in money for. And then, you have family in Punjab. Ask those people like, hey, go to that organization. Actually spend some time, not just go there and take pictures. Like, go there and spend an hour or two or a day or two and see what they're actually doing. Does that go with your mindset? Or actually, because a lot of organizations, I feel sometimes, I shouldn't use that word, lot, but there are sometimes organizations that abuse this power of, godly power of charity, where you do something and a lot of people love you for it, and then they throw money at you and then you abuse it. So don't fall into that trap, because that's not good. So try to actually see where your money goes.
Your nephew?
Milk, tents, water. Those are the needs of the future. Milk, tents, water.
Yeah, milk tents. So I think your nephew is in the live and he's saying hello to you. He's saying, Mama Ji, you are a real hero. Joe,
he's my youngest volunteer. He's actually here. He's probably like in another room. This guy got beat up. He got beat up on the 26th. He was one of the guys who got beat up. He's 15 years old. I'm trying to run back home, but he refuses to go home. I don't know what to do with him. The whole day I'm chasing him. I don't know where he is in Tikri. He's like going talking to this guy, that guy. He's like the funny, like the clown. But he's young. He's 15, and he's my youngest volunteer, and he refuses to go home.
And he just keeps saying, "Tusi great ho, Mama Ji, tusi great ho."
And that's what he said to everybody. He goes around and he goes, "You know my Mama Ji? My Mama Ji is this." I'm like, "Bro, man, you 2 minutes katayenga."
I have a younger brother too. So when you said that 15, like being 15-year-old and he got beat, that I'm not even gonna. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Okay, so Lucky Rocks, you said, wanted to ask Dr. Man that what motivated him to stay back and do this. I am a big fan of him and he is inspiration to many. So basically, what is your motivation of staying back?
So Sahibzade, my greatest motivation is our Sahibzade. If you just watch that movie, I don't care you read about Sahibzade or you just watched that movie, when they were asked to bend down at that door and when they decided not to bend down, and that's the true spirit of a Sikh. That's the true spirit of a human. You just don't bend. When people try to break you, you just stand up harder. And that, I think, is the true Guru Nanak's teaching, that hey, listen, you're a saint, you work hard, you do this, but if somebody thinks that they can run you over, that's when you just you let them beat you up. It's fine to beat me up. It's fine to beat us up. But hey, listen, if you think we will break, death is okay, but we will not break. So I think that motivation, and that motivation comes from our family background as well. But moreover, all the history, Bhagat Singh, Udham Singh, Katar Singh, Srabari Singh, Nalua, Jassa Singh Aluwalia, jehde apne jarnail hoya. You learn this from your journals, and that's why it's important to read your history, because the history teaches you how to be a person. And I think I loved history. Yeah, I became a doctor or whatever, but history was something I always read, and I was always inspired by Sikh history, Indian history, and I've read that, and I think that's what motivates me now. And now, my dad is telling me don't come home. So having a dad like, and you're like, man, the last guy, I'm like, come on, man, tell me to come home. So maybe I have a chance to come home. So that's yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so last question. Let's see.
Give me a negative question, please. I think instead of, let's see if there's something negative.
Okay, then it'll be over here. Most negative questions come from BJP bots, and they don't know how to use the question thing. All right, let's see. Okay.
Can I answer a question I read very early on? I don't want to say. So one guy said that this girl doesn't know anything about the bills, and I want to say something about that. So who cares if you don't? I don't know anything about the bills. I'm a doctor. I'm here trying to do seva. So people like that really are, you're really stupid. A girl is spending her time trying to motivate people and trying to bring awareness, and you're sitting there writing those messages. That shows, I'm pretty sure this is one of those goons who's like being paid to do this. But I just wanted to bring that, how sad that is, because I see that having a female stepping up to the plate and actually, trying to do this, and I really appreciate you for that. And more girls should stand up and do the same thing, because I have more girl volunteers here as doctors than guy volunteers. So, salute to you, and don't mind people say, I'm sure you have had many of that. So yeah, go ahead, ask your question.
I know you're right. Here's the other thing. Like, if you see my Twitter, like, I am actually very well versed on the bills. Like, I come from a background of farming. So when somebody comes at me like, okay, you don't know your shit, I'm just like, you know nothing about me. So, I mean, it doesn't faze me at this point. Usually the people who say things like that, they haven't read the bills and they don't understand what an Essential Commodities Act is, how hoarding is done, how hoarding impacts economics and prices and price gauging, or they don't know the history of contract farming in Punjab. Like, I did an entire thread on Pepsi on Twitter, and how Pepsi came into Punjab and just it didn't work, and then they went into Gujarat and totally screwed people over. And then you have the whole like thing with ganne in, I don't know, I forgot if it was Uttarakhand or UP. Like contract farming has been done before in India and it hasn't worked. The reason why India is in uproar, in all of India, not just Punjab and Haryana, is because this has been done before and it has not worked. And I think we keep missing that. Like, these bills are not new. The only difference is that when these were implemented in Canada, United States, they have much more regulations. So I'm just going off on a rant because you brought this up. Okay, World Trade Organization wanted MSP taken out because they wanted free trade, right? But they did not say take out the Essential Commodities Act and put corporates in. That was the Indian government. So I want to ask you, if you take out food and produce items from the Essential Commodities Act, which literally limits hoarding, what is going to happen? What are the economic consequences? Think with an analytical mind. People, like corporates, can now hoard. When they hoard, demand goes down. When demand goes down, farmers have to sell at a lower price. Like, it's literally common sense. I get so irritated when people are like, you haven't read it. And I'm just like, and not only have I read it, I know exactly what's happening.
Drop the mic, do that, thing that they do. Yeah. Like, finish it off,
I mean, so here's the other thing, and I think you can verify this. Like, the Indian legislation isn't very complicated. Like, it's actually very, very easy to read. Like, if you were supposed to read, like, if you read in a piece of American legislation comparatively, It's so wordy and complicated, and they throw so many things into it. Like Indian legislation is not like that. It's very
Yeah.
easy to grasp. It's very easy to understand. So I always say this. I urge everyone. They're in PDF files. One is like the APMC, the other one is the essential commodities related one, the other one is a corporate related one. Just read it. They're really easy to understand, and that's how you shut these bots up. Anyway, sorry about my rant.
Good job. Proud of
Thanks.
you, man. Way to
Thank you.
go.
All right. Wondering if the volunteer who got attacked on the 26th, is he or she safe?
Yeah. So most everybody's kind of recovered. They're well, except the guy who got hit in the head. We haven't brought him back since then. He's doing fine. Everybody's doing fine. He was the one in most trouble. Everybody else, kind of recovered. Two guys, I had arm pain still now, but uh, nobody, nobody in danger. No, nobody. Very, very positive. Even the next day, everybody was working, except that obviously that one guy who got hit in the head. But everybody else came back to work, and the ones who got hit are probably that much stronger now. Most of them didn't leave since then,
Mhm.
so we're fine.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Swayman. And I'm 100% sure everyone in the diaspora thoroughly enjoyed having you with us. And thank you so much for the seva that you're doing for our grandparents.
Yeah, the end was the best for me. Yeah, yes, and that's and tell you, I'm smiling and I'm doing this because some people feel like you're at a funeral or something. Listen, man, we're having fun. Yeah, if you see my Insta and I put this like flying kite. Yeah, we are gonna keep having fun. We're here to fight, but yeah, we're also here to have fun. So it's okay, to have fun and not be crying all the time. And we don't want to make that environment like this is the way Kisans fight, right? This is the way we protest. We're gonna plant trees and we're gonna have fun. And thank you so much for bringing me on. Appreciate your time, and I appreciate everybody else who listened to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. All right. You have a good night, sir.
Thank you so
Bye
much. Yeah.
bye. The X is okay. There we go. Alrighty, so that was Dr. Swaiman Singh, and he runs the Five Rivers Heart Association in Pinta, California at Tikri, and I thoroughly, thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyed talking to him. And oh, there goes my phone. All right, bye guys, and I will see you tomorrow with another guest.